What's going on, guys? MurderInc here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today I want to do a follow-up video, talk about the clan boss. Let's talk about our huge, heavy-hitting Knight-errant in a clan boss roster. Let's talk about Mountain King in a clan boss roster. Let's really see what we can do. I am not using unkillable teams. I wanted to look at what we can do without lifesteal gear, using a leech buff, and the most mind-blowing thing, I know I've talked about DPM, which means damage per minute, before. I'll leave a link above to that video if you didn't catch it, but I really explored the value of DPM today, and I got some pretty incredible results, especially with a very, not unideal, but not a normal champion to use. Got tons of damage out of the whole team. And one of the most successful runs I've done in a long time was without any lifesteal gear and without using the leech buff. So I'm really excited to show you guys that. Let's get right into it and let's look at our first run today, which is the highlight run with Knight-errant on the team. Alright, so let's take a quick look at this run. Here I have a Dracomorph, an Alton. Obviously we see Knight Revenant there. We have Tyrant and we have Valkyrie. Now, why did I pick this team? Pretty much what I did is I built everyone pure damage. Alton is the only one in lifesteal. We do have a leech coming out from our Knight-errant. However, Alton is in lifesteal simply because I had amazing stats on a lifesteal set and it would have been way too expensive for me to take the gear off, find better stats. Everything just worked out perfectly, so I happened to keep that on him. Tyrant is a huge asset here. We have the defense up, as well as the ally protection, and of course Val carrying the team with the big shield, really giving us value and letting the leech debuff sustain the entire team. As we can see here, we are not getting our 600,000 crits from our Knight-errant. He is hitting pretty hard, I will have to give him that, but we are definitely not seeing the 600,000 crits we did see before. So what I can do is I can leave a link below with all of the gear. I don't think I'm going to go through all of the gear in the video like I normally do, since there is kind of a bit I do want to cover in this scenario. So that's something I'm probably not going to do in this video, but like I said, I'll leave a link. I'll have an image of all of the gear all these champions are using. As mentioned, they are pretty much all close to 100% crit rate, heavy stacking, and crit damage. There isn't a ton of survivability on any of these champions, so that is something that we should definitely be looking at. So on a quick glance, just looking at things, we have 13 turns so far and 11 point, I think it's going to be 9 million. Yeah, 11.9 million damage. So the DPM isn't extremely high, but it's still high. The real question I want to dive into with this team comp is, how hard is our Knight-errant going to hit with his crazy damage dealing abilities like we saw in the previous video? So far, nothing too impressive. The damage definitely scales back based on the difference between a dungeon mob, health pool, and defense amount compared to a clan boss and things of that nature. So that's definitely something to consider when using a raw damage dealer. The second thing I want to look at is the viability of leech. Now I did run this team with a Mountain King instead of a Knight-errant, so there will be no source of leech, so we are going to look at that next. So for now, we pretty much got the basic idea of how much damage is being done with this team comp, so let's skip right ahead to the end screen, go over the final damage, and let's look at how we did here overall. So as we can see on the screen here, we ended up surviving for I think about 32 rounds. We did 29.65 million damage with our Knight-errant on the team. We had Alton doing 4.6, Tyrant with 6.4, Valk with 3.4, Knight-errant with 5.1 million damage, as well as Dracomorph obviously carrying the team at 9.8 million damage done. As you can see from the healing numbers below, Tyrant heals himself, so that number is skewed, but Valk, Knight-errant, and Dracomorph were able to successfully heal with just having the leech debuff active on the boss, so that is very good. It did drop off a few times, however, Valk's shield was big enough to extend the run until Knight-errant and Dracomorph got one shot through the shield. So that's something to consider when looking at DPM, trying to maximize your damage as opposed to going straight survivability. That's really important, especially if you're using a champion like Valkyrie. What you want to do is, you want to do exactly what I did here. Make them survive long enough to where they're just getting one shot in one of the AoEs, and just let your team slowly decay from there. That is going to maximize your results as a whole a lot more than you would expect. Alright, so the next run I want to talk about, this is probably the more hyped run. As we can see here, Mountain King is doing a ton of damage. Way more than Knight-errant, even though Knight-errant proved to be much better in the competition. Now, I did not change any of their gear for this, so there isn't some synergy going on there. The only difference is the relationship between Knight-errant's cruel gear and savage gear. I did see a comment about that. People were asking about it. So what I want to do really quick is have you notice here that one major thing that is affected is the amount of mastery damage you get. So if you look at the team, how much mastery damage they're doing, we have 34,000 damage from a mastery proc, but we are receiving 41,000 damage per mastery proc from our champion Mountain King, who is wearing a 4-piece Savage set. So Savage is directly increasing the damage of mastery from all of his abilities, which is definitely going to add up, and you are definitely going to see that. Now his base kit does do a lot of damage. He definitely has the bonus over Knight-errant being an HP based champion. As we can see, massive amount of health here. It will definitely increase his survivability, and he will survive longer. One really interesting to note, as mentioned before, he is doing significantly more damage than Knight-errant, even though he was outshined on the previous dungeon video that I did release. So that's something very important to look at here. Now we are getting just absolutely monstrous numbers, especially for an A1 from a champion like this. So it's really interesting to see how I could build straight damage on an HP based champion like Mountain King, get a ton of value out of him, get that increased mastery proc from wearing Savage gear, and just watch this run go, and it's really amazing. The other point that I did want to highlight about this team is we do have Tyrant and Alton healing. Alton from lifesteal, as mentioned before, Tyrant from his kit, as we can see here. But other than that, we have no source of healing outside of the mastery that heals for a percent of damage when you're under 50%, as well as immortal gear sets on these champions. So I really wanted to test the value and really stress that damage per minute that I've been talking about nonstop with this team to see how can we do without lifesteal? Are we going to succeed? So I thought that would be definitely an interesting topic to go over with everybody here. And let's find out together how successful this is going to be. So I sped up the run. We are now past the 7-minute mark. We did get an unlucky stun on Dracomorph there. He isn't healing like he should be, obviously, since he's not wearing lifesteal gear. So this is going to be a slow burn down until this champion dies, which is probably coming up in this next AoE here. But this is really what I'm focused on here. Ideally, we would want Alton built with possibly more damage and less survivability, so he's not always at full health. As mentioned, he's wearing lifesteal gear, so that is going to prolong his life. Mountain King will be the next person to die here, as we can see. Maybe it's going to be Valk, who knows, but more likely than not, it's going to be our Mountain King. As we can see, with these hard-hitting abilities, even without defense down and weaken, he is able to heal up a bit. Alright, so that was enough to kill him, as mentioned. We have our 2 healing champions still alive now. This is definitely one of the key points in having someone like a Tyrant at your disposal. He has his self-healing, and you can also build him with amazing stats since you don't need lifesteal gear. So overall, this was a pretty well-balanced team. There wasn't 1 or 2 champions surviving 4, 5, 6 turns after the team wipes. That is one of the greatest indicators that your team is not perfectly balanced. If you were losing champions early, not because of a attack down that didn't land, and you have 3, 4, or even 2 champions living for multiple rounds past the rest of your team, you definitely have to reevaluate the way you're gearing your champions, who you're prioritizing defense on, crit rate on, so on and so forth. So let's recap this damage really quick. As we can see, 37.65 million damage per key, 6 million from Alton, 8 million from Tyrant, 4.3 from Valkyrie, 9 million damage from Mountain King, and 10.2 million damage from Dracomorph. So here we have a raw damage dealer, health-based champion in Savage gear, getting that extra value out of the mastery procs, doing 1.2 million damage, less than Dracomorph, who is arguably the best clan boss champion in the game. This is amazing to see, especially from a champion who offers no poisons. One thing to consider if you do want to use a raw damage dealer in your clan boss team, you have to calculate how much damage they are going to do from there's A1, A2, and A3. Mountain King is very unique here because his damage is pretty equal across all three abilities. It's over 100,000. Obviously, when you counterattack, you get reduced damage on everybody when they counterattack, so the damage isn't as high. But on the normal attacks, we are getting over 100,000 per ability. That is the equivalent of 2 poisons, not including a mastery proc. Now we have a champion that's doing damage as if he is landing 2 poisons and it's instantly ticking each run. So that is definitely something to look at if you do want to use a raw damage dealer in your clan boss team. If you don't have 1 poisoner, 2 poisoners, most people do when they start with Kale, but if you're looking for a support type role that can survive for a long time, I highly recommend looking into defense-based champions, HP-based champions, even attack-based champions like Knight-errant will work for you, whether they have a leech debuff or not. This is just an example of probably the best raw damage dealer in the game, second to Turvold for the clan boss. The only reason I rate him second and not first is because Turvold's damage is extremely high. He does die very quickly, and more often than not, he does need a resurrection, and he cannot be used in counterattack since he has an extra turn that will burn through his skills. By right, Mountain King should be ranked 1, but Turvold just does so much damage that I cannot justify it. Mountain King is an extremely hard-hitting HP-based champion, so as mentioned, we are adding a ton of value to his kit since we can stack additional survivability that also increases his damage, similar to what a defense-based champion like Alton would do. Alright guys, I want to thank you a ton for watching. I'm really glad you guys enjoyed the last video, so I'm going to do another video just like that after this video. What I want to know before I do that in the comments here, what type of damage dealers do you think you are going to do? Were you expecting that much damage from Mountain King? Were you expecting that little damage from the Knight-errant after we saw his incredible 600,000 crit? Should the damage have been that much lower? In my opinion, no, but as mentioned before, the defense scaling on the clan boss is a bit different. So quickly going over what you can expect from the next video, really excited about it. Pretty much I'm going to show you the top 3 healers and support champions that are going to blow your mind with how much damage they do. Pretty much these 3 healers and support, like turn meter boosters, so on and so forth, they do so much damage for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I said I have to make a video on it and I have to show you guys because you're going to be absolutely shocked when I put my caliber gear on these healers. Watch what they can do. Alright guys, don't forget, if you enjoy this content as much as I enjoy making it, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, comment with your thoughts on what you want to see next, turn on that notification bell so you always know when I upload. Definitely join my Discord. I post every time I release something, and it's awesome to communicate with you guys. Thanks a bunch for all the support once again, and until next time, I will see you in the next video.